you're just getting into Warhammer 40k and you're not quite sure exactly what all you're going to need or where you're going to get started, well, today we're going to be starting a series of videos from Keystone Inquisition Gaming, and we're going to be going over all the basics leading up to your first game. So let's get started. One of the first things you're going to want to do is decide which faction that you would like to play and which looks good to you. There's various groups on Facebook you can go to and see, you can talk to them how they like the factions. You can also go to the Warhammer community. They have links there to some of the different lore for the different factions. And you can read up a little bit on what interests you and what you would like. Beyond all that, my best suggestion would be for simply to go with what you think looks cool. Games Workshop has quite a few start collecting sets out for pretty much their entire plastic line, and you get a pretty good value for the cost. This is your hobby. You should enjoy it. And if you think it looks cool, then that's definitely the best place to start. I have here one of the older start collecting sets, Dark Eldar. It's single faction, comes with a headquarters, some troops, a couple of little fast attack units, and pretty good value. It's about $85 US. So you're going to need something like that, or you can go for one of the boxed games, which comes with two different armies. I have here Tooth and Claw, which I believe is still available from Games Workshop. That includes Space Wolves and Genestealer Cults. Comes with headquarters, troops, a couple fast attack, Redemptor Dreadnought for Space Wolves, and a nice little handheld cheat sheet of the rules, which are about 8 pages long, which is great compared to the last edition, which was incredibly dense. So now you've picked your faction, you got your basic setup, your start collecting box, your 2 army set. What else are you going to need? Well, you're going to need the codex. I have here the codex for Genestealer Cult and some data cards. You need these because it'll detail for you exactly what each unit does, what its points costs are, and it'll go over their stat lines for you. And all the new codexes now have a lot of pages. Pretty much the first half of the codex, as you can see here, is nothing but the lore. So it's really neat because you can read through the book, go over the lore, and they all also include very detailed pictures painted up from Games Workshop guys. That's really the best basic setup you can go with. Just start collecting box and codex and data cards. Now that you've got your faction picked out, you got your start collecting box, your data cards, and your codex, you're going to need some hobby essentials. One of the big things is glue. Games Workshop puts out their own glue. Some Citadel plastic glue thin, plastic glue thick. Honestly, it's okay. I'm not a big fan of it. I've tried it, never really liked it. My go-to for all plastic is pretty much just the Tester's liquid cement. It kind of melds up the plastic. It's easy to work with. You just brush it on, hold the pieces together, and you're done. For items such as resin or what Finecast, Citadel Finecast, you're going to want something like a super glue, cyanoacrylate. Another one I'll use there is just Loctite super glue gel. Real easy to find, easy to get a hold of at your local store. Outside of that, you'll need hobby knife, just simple X-Acto blade. You'll use that for trimming up some of the sprue pieces that are left on. Some sandpaper, help file it, sand down little bits and pieces. Usually for that, what I like to do is I'll just go to my local shop, my local hardware store. I'll get big sheets of fine grade sandpaper and cut them down into little inch or half-inch squares. Makes it real easy to work with, and it's actually really cost effective. Now, some tools that are great to have but not really essential when you're just starting out is something like a little set of sprue cutters. These are ones from Games Workshop, and it just makes it easier for cutting the plastic off the sprues. Another tool is the mold line remover. A lot of the plastic bits and pieces have little mold lines where it was sitting in the mold, of course, for the plastic. But if you don't want to invest in one of those right off the bat, that's fine. You can just take your hobby knife and scrape it down the mold on the flat edge, and it does basically the same thing. One other tool you're going to need is a little files. You can pick up some jeweler's files, some small files at your hardware store, or again, Games Workshop sells their little file set, which really isn't bad. They're more like baby emery boards than files, but if you're not trying to file an inch nub of plastic down, they'll work just fine. Pretty much all the basic stuff you'll need to get started in the hobby. If you like my video, please leave a comment if you have any questions. Like, subscribe. In the description I'll have links for some of the websites I talked about. So, happy gaming, and join us next week where we're going to get into more of the actual hobby aspect and some of the painting as well. Thank you.